participation and possible action by the board on the master plan review of the major land development for the redevelopment of the Rob Mill to be known as Bristol Yarn Mill, located at 125 Thames Street. Proposal has been revised for 127 residential apartment units and approximately 6,300 square feet of commercial space in the mill building. Proposal includes parking on the east side of Thames Street that is currently approximately 130 feet south of the intersection of Church and Thames Street. Planning Board also to make recommendation to the Town Council on the proposed change of zone request to amend the original zone change conditions on the mill property. Property currently zoned waterfront plan unit development with conditions, waterfront and downtown zones, and is also within the Bristol Historic District, Plat 10 lots, 1, 42, 43, 44, 49, 50, 60, 61, 62, 68, 71, 73, 74, and 76. Owners Russ Realty, Russell Carrion, Centera Realty, and Carrion Realty Company. Applicant Brady Sullivan Properties LLC. Planning Board also act on applicant's request for extension on the time frame for an additional 60 days to bring the deadline for action to June 21st, 2022. Who's up first?
Mr. Chairman? Excuse me. Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I think first you need a motion to reopen the public participation portion of the public information meeting. And I will note for the record that notice has been provided to the people within the radius list of this intended reopening of the public participation portion, but I think you need a motion to do it.
All right.
All right, so moved, as Andy stated.
Wait a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay. Now,
Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, thank you, Andy. Mr. Chairman, just for the record, my name is John McCoy.
Talking to the mic.
We'll do that. My name is John McCoy, offices at 40 West Vista Street in Providence, attorney for the applicant Brady Sullivan. I will say it's nice to be here in person for a change. I think the Zoom, everyone tries their best, but it's just easier to be here in person. But in any case, the board has a letter from me dated March 31st. I tried to separate it in terms of subject matter points so we could kind of keep it straight. And what I want to do is go over those points best I can. I don't want to reiterate everything, but I want to hit the highlights. And I've got Mr. Martin here, I'm going to then turn it over to really focus on what's been the subject of a lot of commentary, is the parking lot, as well as the 10% access. I'm going to tie those two together. But let me just briefly go over some of the other issues. As you know, you've got the revised letter from me March 31st. You have a letter from Ms. Williamson of April 4th reflecting on that. There's a subsequent memo from me and then a letter from her dated April 14th today. First subject, density. Current proposal is 127 units. We've looked at this quite a bit. Originally, as you know, it was 151 units, went to 130, it's now 127. That's really the bottom line that we can do going forward. And I think really Ms. Williamson nailed it in her memo to this board. And Mr. Tights had said this back in the TRC in December. We have to show the infrastructure supports those units. And comments at the TRC, Bristol Water, Sewer said that we should support it. We're going to have, obviously, a traffic report, a preliminary. We've agreed to be peer reviewed. So that'll all support the infrastructure. It's an existing historic building. It's not new construction. It's a building that's already there and it's empty. So we're looking to put 127 units in there, and we think that the infrastructure clearly supports that. The affordable housing fee in lieu, I think we've reached an agreement on that based on the comments at the discussion session on March 16th. So the applicant has noted is going to do it based on 15%. That includes the 3 units at 49 and 50 Thames Street, and then the other 17 to be paid in fee in lieu at $40,000 each. That's an extra $680,000 in fee in lieu. As I said, I'll go back to the 10% minimum public access, and the parking lot in a little more detail. I just want to go over some of the other issues as well. Commercial space, I think we've all reached agreement on that based on the comments of the discussion session. It's 6,300 proposed. I think the board's in agreement with that, and Ms. Williamson touched on that in her memo to the board. We've withdrawn the request for the zone change for the accessory lot. There was a lot of discussion about that. As I said, we really felt in the beginning that it was more appropriate to put all these zones together in one project, but I know there's a lot of comments from the board and some comments from butters. So we feel as long as the accessory lots are included as part of the project, we don't have a problem with withdrawing the zone change request, so we have no problem with that at all. The fiscal impact report was already noted by the board at the discussion session on March 16th. That can be peer reviewed, report by Mr. Lombardo. I have no problem with that. So that would be something coming up then. So I want to get back briefly to a couple of the remaining issues. The outside parking lot of Thames Street and the minimum 10% public access. In my March 31st letter, we had felt a couple of things got us over the 10%. One being the waterway that was conveyed, the riparian rights conveyed by the owner of Russell back in 2008. That was really part of the 2008 master plan decision and required by the town council. The planning department took some issue with that. The solicitor took some issue with that. Long and short of it, what we decided was what we can do to meet that 10% is we could convey the Church Street parking lot to the town, because there's a lot of interest in that, a lot designed by the town. But to do that, we're losing 23 parking spaces in that lot. We need to get this back, because for the applicant, it's really, as he mentioned, about the parking. Mr. Reynolds mentioned this before, and I know Mr. Martin did too. It's really about the need to make sure you have enough parking. I mean, this board, in TRC and in the pre-application all through, has really said, we want enough off-street parking. In fact, the town council and the planning board back in 2008 said, make sure this project has more than required parking. It's condition 7 of 2008 approval. Make sure you have more than required parking. So that's what we're trying to do. When this board came back and said we want to get rid of the dimensional waivers for the Thames Street lot, get up to the 10 foot by 18, get more buffer, 24-foot aisle, that caused a loss of 31 spaces. Now, we were going to keep the Church Street lot as kind of a cushion in case we need those spaces. If we're going to lose that, like you made that to the town, as the town requested, we got to get those spaces back. So we looked through it. We wanted to really accomplish 3 things. 1, get those spaces back. 2, get the Church Street lot to the town. And 3, maintain as much of that enhanced buffer, particularly on the south side. I think we've accomplished that, and Mr. Martin's going to go into detail on that to show how we do it. But that's really what we're looking for, as part of that, to get back to the 9 by 18 foot spaces, which gets us back 25 more spaces, which pretty much will equal then to the 23 we're losing with the Church Street lot. So that's kind of where it was. We want to make sure we have enough parking to maintain off-street parking, to avoid on-street parking, which I don't think anybody wants. In the area, the town doesn't want, nobody wants. So that's kind of where we are as an overview of the points. I think Ms. Williams sent her memos April 14th and April 4th is in agreement with that, is recommending it. But I want to have Mr. Martin really go into detail. There's a lot of people here. I know Mr. Reynolds met with some of the neighbors today and went over that, but I'd like to, for the benefit of the folks here, Mr. Martin, go through what we're doing, what we're supposed to do, that Thames Street lot, showing the buffer, showing the parking spaces, and I think he's going to go a little bit into the lighting too, because I know there's some comments about that. It's really a preliminary thing, but a lot of people interested, so we're going to go into that a little bit tonight. So with the board's indulgence, I'll Mr. Martin come up. We were going to try to do the screen up there, but I guess that didn't quite work out. So we're going to do it old school with the easel here, and we've got some handouts and so forth. So don't mind the material, Mr. Martin, you can take it off from there.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.